Hi, so I find myself in a strange position where I want to make a video, but I've got so many things to talk about that I don't know where to start. In the last 3 weeks since my last video, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks, uh, so many things have happened that's been uncanny. A lot of this seems to have happened as a result of taking the plant Tamamuri, which there's an Icaros of Tamamuri on this channel, which is a plant which is promoted or used, I guess, by Stefania Pastorelli and Don Juan Flores, the curandero in Peru. What they tend to do is they use Tamamuri, uña de gato, and chuchuasi as a sort of basic tonic when people go. So for 30 days you'd use those plants to prepare yourself and to clean your system out before you moved on to some serious diets. So Tamamuri is one I've been wanting to try because I've done the other ones, and somebody sent me a bottle of it. Now, the experience I had with Tamamuri is not typical. Most people, this is not a psychedelic medicine for most people. It's a tonic, it cleanses the stomach and this kind of thing. But there is a chance, apparently, that if you use it for 6 months or more in a concentrated diet, you would have visions. But that stipulation is for normal people. For some people, if you're really sensitive or really spiritual aware, you can have visions right away, and that's what happened to me. The dosage is 120 drops per day, like 60 drops and another 60 drops. But knowing that I'm quite sensitive, I took 6 drops the first day, and I didn't feel anything until I went to bed. That evening, I had an absolutely explosive psychedelic show, which was really amazing. You see, I didn't know anything about Tamamuri. I knew nothing about it. And what happened is, as I was lying in bed, I suddenly saw a large fruit in front of my face, like a plum, it seemed like, and it exploded. And as it exploded, it was like syrupy, sweet marmalade juice came flying out. And as the juice came flying out, it turned into hummingbirds and went flying off in different directions. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And I had this sensation of syrupy sweetness, like I felt sugar. And it was almost like my blood turned into marmalade. And it was like moving through my blood system. At the same time, I could feel the consciousness of the plant reaching deep into the subconscious, almost like roots going deep inside of my mind, looking for things to clean. And this all happened in the space of 30 minutes. It was a very sudden and overwhelming and unexpected event. But it was cool. It was a very interesting experience. Now, the funny thing is later when I went to look it up, because I thought, well, that was a really crazy experience. I need to find out more about this plant. And amazingly enough, Tamamuri is a member of the mulberry family. It's a fruit tree. I didn't know this previously. It's a fruit tree which is found on the banks of the Amazon and whose fruits fall into the water and fish eat them. Now, water is often connected with emotion, and the element of water is the imagination. And what's interesting is this syrupy marmalade feeling it felt like love. It felt like really connected with love. And in some ways, Tamamuri has a similar vibration to Bob and Sana. It's got this sort of loving energy which it sort of sends through your system. It was really beautiful. But the funny thing is, we often say in common life, like if you like somebody, you might say, oh, she's really sweet, or even in Spanish they say that, and they're like, oh, que dulce. So you're like, oh, you're so sweet, sweetness, fruits, the marmalade, that was sweetness. And another thing I discovered when I was reading is that Tamamuri is also often used as an aphrodisiac. And so this was another effect I found as this marmalade was moving through my body, and this is like the energetic signature of Tamamuri, there was this sense of like loving, sort of sexual love sort of being promoted. And it was being promoted in this, it was very much in that idea of sweetness. It's just so sweet. And it was moving through the system in this sort of sweet way. So it was a very interesting experience. So I took it for about 6 days, and I was lowering the dosage. So I started with 6 drops, and I lowered it down to about 2 drops. And there was a bunch of reasons for doing that. One was that the rainforest, this was not a sacred tree essence. This was a rainforest pharmacy essence, and the bottles are quite big, but the dosages also are huge. So you may not get, it may not be better value than sacred tree essences, as you might think, because the bottle's bigger. But since the dosage is at least 10 times higher, the bottle's not 10 times bigger, right? But for me, a small dosage was working anyway. And this is not, this is a tincture. This is a real tincture. It's not homeopathic like the sacred tree. So I think the sacred tree essences are a much better, I think they're a better medicine to use in a home setting. I think it's much easier to manage the dosages in a safe way with the sacred tree. What I found, and I'm extremely sensitive and you probably wouldn't find this, but I found that I started feeling slightly unbalanced after 6 days of using the rainforest medicine. And I actually had a major event, like on about the 8th day, this is like 2 days after I stopped taking it. I had a major event, and it was basically because I'd broken the diet kind of a thing. I'd had a sugar crash, and I drank some Coca-Cola to try and raise my sugar. Coca-Cola has caffeine in it. And I had an instant crash, which I had an instant breakthrough, which was extremely profound. And I won't get into the details. It was extremely profound. It affected me for 3 or 4 days afterwards. And at the time I was thinking, wow, I was thinking this is not something to play around with, because it was such a profound breakthrough. I was like, wow, I don't know if I like that vibe, I didn't like the vibe, right? It was too much. But that wasn't related to the Tamamuri, really. That was related to the breaking of the diet. After that, I really chilled out for a few days after that, just trying to sort of meditate, bringing the energy down, and it was all cool. And then the most amazing thing happened. And I think this was like last week. I was dreaming. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was dreaming. And in my dream, I was in a house where they were doing ayahuasca ceremonies. Surprise, surprise. And I was trying to find the correct room for where the ceremony was. And I was sort of looking around, like, where is this place? And as I was looking around, I sensed something behind me. And I got a message saying that if you look behind you right now, you will see Sathya Sai Baba, the famous Indian guru. I was like, uh-oh. Now, as you may, if you've seen my other videos, I've had several experiences with Sathya Sai Baba during ceremonies and outside of ceremonies. He's dead, but I've had visions of him. But this moment in the dream represents the most profound meeting I've had with him. Because what happened is I did look over my shoulder. And when I did, I transformed from the dream world. As I did it, I transformed from the dream world and went into a purely mystical state. And I ran over to Sai Baba and grabbed his hands, and we had a conversation wherein he gave me a bunch of specific advice and also told me that what I need to do is I need to learn how to open and close dieta plants in a more professional way. Or in a more spiritually correct way, because he said I was basically playing around too much with not taking enough responsibility for the closing of the plants, and that was why I'd had the negative experience. Now at this stage, I'm already sort of conscious, and I'm sort of consciously awake, and still sort of talking to him with my eyes closed, kind of a thing. And so it sort of transformed, and then he takes my hand, and we start walking. And all of a sudden, I find myself in bed with my eyes open, and I was like, what just happened? But I could feel his presence in the room. It was really strange, and it was like mystical. It's the vibe you get when you have a mystical experience. Like the whole of Raleigh feels different. The synesthesia, I could smell flowers, that kind of thing. And it was this just this odd vibe. And that was in the room for about an hour. This was about between 1 and 2 in the morning when I woke up. And, you know, it's like, so, yes, I mean, it's difficult to say what all that means, you know, but there was a great amount of information, a lot of it which I haven't shared, you know, but the stuff about trying to open and close plants was something interesting. So the next day I sent a message to Stephania, who's the Kurandero I speak to, and she sent me a bunch of information about how to open and close plants and the Icarus to sing and how to do it and this kind of thing. So that's quite interesting. Now, meanwhile, that's kind of the experience of Tamamuri. I mean, it was. I've probably skipped over a lot of the details, but the main thing about Tamamuri is that sweetness. The fact that for me it was extremely visual every day, and it felt kind of unbalanced, but also I feel like it's connected me to something else. I feel it's opened up some big doors, and that's why I was saying a lot to talk about, because I seem to have opened up some big doors spiritually. Now, as you know, I've been doing tantric energy work for almost a year now, 3 hours a day, every single day for a year. And one of the things that's happened is I've noticed that as I move energy around my system, I've noticed that there is I started to notice that there was relationships between the energy, and that as I was moving energy, there were different sort of tensions and structures between the energy, and I was working with this in various ways with deity invocation and this kind of stuff. But there were these sort of conflicts and also confluences between the energies, and you know, I was aware of it, but then I think it was just after the Sai Baba thing. I've been thinking it for a while, but after the Sai Baba thing, it sort of started gelling in my mind. I was thinking, you know, what's going on here is that these tensions that I'm seeing, these between 2 points, between two energies, are actually exactly the same thing as the tensions which might exist between the Sephiroth of the Tree of Life. And of course, there is a practice of moving and working with the energy between the Sephiroth using the paths, and it's commonly known as path work. And path work is an imaginative technique which is used to work with the conflicts and relationships between the energies on the Tree of Life. Now, the interesting thing about this is the Sephiroth, the Tree of Life, you know, a lot of it's traditionally in Hebrew, and it's sort of more complicated to understand. But if you look at some sort of occult interpretations of what the Tree of Life is, what a lot of people have done is they've, over the years, they've sort of layered other systems on top of it. So you can find the chakra systems layered on top of the Tree of Life. The trumps of the tarot are layered on top of the Tree of Life. Now, this is really interesting, because then I start thinking about it, and I was like, well, you know, the tarot, there's actually tarot cards assigned to each path, 22 trumps and 22 paths. And then also there's 4 different trees of life, one for each suit, each element, and then you can go through each sort of elemental body. Now, I've been talking about this Archeos meditation and how to sort of meditate through the different energy bodies. So working with the Sephiroth and the Tarot using different elemental structures is also another way of working through this. Now, out of nowhere, one of my friends on the Facebook group started chatting to me and was saying, you know, there's a book which I just got this feeling that you should be reading. And it's an amazing book called The Inner Guide Meditation by a guy called Steinbrecher. You can find it free online if you look around. And it's a really, really good book which explains how to integrate the Zodiac and the Tarot with the path work. Now, the amazing thing about this is that if you work with natal Zodiac charts, and I'm not a Zodiac expert, but I'm becoming one quickly, is that, I'm becoming a novice quickly, is what happens is when you do a natal chart, the natal chart shows you astrological conflicts. And what the astrology actually deals with is astrology deals with archetypes. It deals with, you know, the tendency to say archetypes of the personality. But what you're actually dealing with is what you discover is when you start working directly with archetypes, is they actually represent energy. Now, when I work with energy, I've been working with different colors of energy, and there's various ways of splitting energy up. But another way of splitting up is symbolically using the trump cards of the tarot. And if you can imagine, like, the energy stream, like some big ray from God, is actually divided into 22 different strands. It's almost like a fiber optic cable. And there's 22 different strands of different archetypes, each one representing an unbelievable force of God. Now, what happens is you can connect directly to those archetypes. And there are some really interesting techniques related in that book by Steinbrecher, explaining how to work with this energy. Now, the funny thing is, I was already doing this, but this framework which he presents is really excellent. And the most important thing about it is it's really safe, because it mandates working with a spirit guide, which is something I've always been kind of skeptical about. But I've gone through the process and connected with the spirit guide. And what's nice about this is the Steinbrecher book. Steinbrecher actually had a group in the physical world where he was helping people connect, and they had zero people going crazy. See, this is really important, because what happens is when you work with archetypes, these are such huge underlying power structures in the personality that it's very easy working with those that you can go completely nuts. And this ties in with 1 year ago, I made a video on this channel called Thought Deformation, where I thought I was going completely nuts. And the funny thing was, and I didn't realize at the time, but what I had begun doing was I'd begun working directly with archetypes. And I was working with them in a very creative way, which I'd read about, but naively did not have a spirit guide to guide me through the process. Lessons learned. So it's been a really interesting week or two. The Tamamuri has opened up some big doors. Sai Baba was a stunning experience. Aperture of working directly with archetypal powers using tarot, which is just, it's like the perfect framework. It's a perfect sort of mental framework to understand some of these ideas. And the coolest thing about it is Steinbrecher's book works with it in a way which completely ties in with the energy work that I was already doing. So there's some great, for example, some great ways of like taking 3 or 4 different archetypes and combining them into one energy structure, and then working with that energy structure. And the amazing thing is the way Steinbrecher talks about it is exactly the way I've already been working with the energy. So it's like, it's perfect, and it ties in with everything I'm doing. So I kind of feel like I've hit the Holy Grail with my path here. And I'm almost, the thing is I'm so connected to these archetypes at the moment. I mean, they're really visceral to me. I can feel them, like, and you can't feel them outside because it's something that comes from inside of you. But I can feel the energy specifically. I can connect each one of them. And it's so strong, this sensation, that I'm thinking I may make a pause for some time in medicine activities. Maybe. I mean, I've been doing the essences and stuff for such a long time, but the whole archetype thing is such a holy grail of information and truth that I think it possibly demands my complete attention. Because the great thing about these archetypes is when you throw the natal zodiac chart, is you can see where the conflicts are. You can see there are angular relationships between different trumps or different planets on the zodiac, and that pinpoints exactly which conflicts you are having in your life, which in turn directs you where to center your energy in meditation and how to resolve them. And it all seems kind of out there. I never believed in the zodiac or anything, but I've already been doing planetary work. And when I've been working with the planets, it's amazing the energy that happens. It just changes everything into a whole higher level of work. It's amazing. And the zodiac it's unbelievable. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And that's the great thing about this too, is it doesn't feel occult. It just feels beautiful and truth. And as we all know, beauty is truth and truth is beauty, and that is all you know and all you need to know. That is what it is. It's amazing. It's the most amazing discovery of my life. Really, it's just unbelievable. So that's it for today. I was thinking, of ending the channel, because it's like, what happens too with this archetype work is it moves in. You've got to do this secretly. Apparently, you can't share this information. So what happens is when you share the information, it dilutes or renders null the connections with the archetypes. And this is something that also happens with plants from time to time too. So there's a chance that I may end the channel, or I just may not post for a while or something like that. I don't know, because it almost feels silly posting. I just feel like why bother? I feel like my energy needs to be somewhere else in the moment. But at the same time, I also sort of, I've been doing videos for 3 years, and I don't want to just end it and just say fuck off, right? So, but we'll see how I feel. I'm still sort of recovering from the blast of the Tamamuri, so that was unbelievable what happened to that plant. So I'm still recovering. So my reticence to talk may be part of that too. So I'll just feel that out in the next week or so. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for now. Peace, love, take it easy.